Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tex Messages. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're glad to have you here on this Sunday, April 22nd, 2018. We're at our 24th episode here, so just moving ahead, steaming forward, shoveling coal into the burner, and just staying on the tracks. Every 6 miles we'll hit up a new town, refill the coal, and just keep firing away until we reach our ultimate destination, which nobody really knows. Maybe it's just going to go in circles the whole time. So, we'll find out though. It's not the destination, it's the journey. So we'll just continue chugging forward, steaming ahead, full flanking, full throttle, full pedal. Those airplanes where you got the handles, move them all the way forward to move fastest. And yeah, just full speed ahead, basically, is the whole motto of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Well, looks like we got some pretty decent weather finally. So yesterday got up to about mid-60s, super hot, pretty much. There's still a lot of snow out there, so we won't be able to get into the gardening just yet. Soon, though. We'll be able to provide some just simple instructional videos on how to till your garden or how to grow starter plants or to transplant starter plants. Well, to grow starter plants. Go to Fleet Farm or Runnings or that guy in Malacca's his greenhouse, and then just buy some starter plants, then just stick them in the ground. Or the seeds that you got inside your house, transition them to go outside and then stick them in the ground. So yeah, we'll probably show some of them videos too. And then the other thing too is there are these things called weed barriers. They're basically just big rolls. I got a couple of rolls that are about 4 by 50 feet. You just lay them down, poke holes in them. They let water in, but they don't let water out. So all the nutrients and the water still gets in the soil, but just the weeds don't grow. Hence weed barrier. So they're pretty nifty too. A nifty device to have. It'll save you a lot of time if you don't like spending a lot of time outside. So for me, I usually do a little bit of weeding here and there, but yeah, I'll probably lay down those barriers just to see how well they work and try to do some comparative analysis to see how different plants grow underneath those barriers as opposed to plants that aren't underneath the barriers, just to see, maybe the barriers are blocking this nutrient or that nutrient or the other nutrient, and then the plants don't grow as good underneath them. So it's like, all right, yeah, then maybe spending a few extra hours to weed might be worth the time and effort and energy. So it's important to do a lot of trial and error with things like that, and write it down or get a good idea in your head or a good memory of it to be the best you can be at outdoor gardening. And inside gardening is another important thing too, but I mean for outdoor gardening, yeah, you want to be able to grow hundreds of plants, freeze them or eat them fresh all summer and fall, and then freeze them all winter, so then you don't have to buy the pesticide riddled genetically engineered synthetic fertilizer and herbicides and all that goofy stuff. You don't have to buy that, eat that at the at the vegetables that you get in the store. So pretty much in every other food there's going to be weird, strange chemicals. So it's just mitigating risk basically, or mitigating disease or chemical exposure is the name of the game. Like for example, and then the more you mitigate it too, the longer you allow your body to adapt to it. Like if you're in a car it's probably a bad example, but if you're exposed to poor air quality, eventually your body will build up the red white blood cells or antibodies or whatever it does to counter the effects of it. So over time you can be immune to it, and your body just expends a few extra calories to attack it, and then you move on with your life. But if you're spending an inordinate amount of time and calories that your body is using to counteract those effects, then it's not really worth it, because you could use those calories and the time and your body's energy to attack other things that you want to do in a typical day. So yeah, I mean, just keep that in mind. The body is pretty capable of some incredible things, but it's good to be able to focus them on actual productive endeavors rather than just avoiding sickness. I mean, if you eat 3,000 calories a day and they're all used to avoid sickness and you're not really doing anything, you're just kind of plain and mumbling and stumbling or bumbling around, then yeah, it's maybe you can look at your environment and see if maybe you can improve your health here and there and everywhere. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's a Sunday morning episode. We're going to try to do it so we don't really have any central topics. Just just do a couple of recent news articles or health articles, and then see what happens based on that. So I suppose, you could consider it a pilot or a trial and error, probably more so on the error side. And eventually you think we would run out of static topics, but think it's a very ever-changing world. Things change every single day, and sometimes what you thought was static is actually not static, and it becomes very dynamic. So there is also that to consider, ladies and gentlemen. But with that being said, let's check out some of these. The producers make all these articles up here, so then they can just hand it off to me and then see what happens, basically. So what happened is, in Illinois, Urbana, Champaign, they decided to test tap water, and what they found is that bacteria in tap water can accumulate when a faucet isn't used for days. So they used the dormitories as the experimental test bed, and during the when they closed for spring break or summer or whatever, they decided that they would go into the dorms, test out all the, get some water out of the tap, test it out, see if there's bacteria growing or whatever the case may be. So what they found is that the pipes, the water that comes from the city does not have the bacteria in it. It has low levels of bleach, and fluoride doesn't really kill the bacteria, but the bleach and the chlorine is what's used to kill the bacteria. So when the city water comes in, it does not have any bacteria in it. So the bacteria, what they found is that the bacteria would actually accumulate pretty close to, the closer it got to the tap, the more the bacteria accumulated. So it was actually growing in the pipes, but then when the water was not running for a while. Now, the water is under pressure and all that good fun stuff, but it just wasn't ever used for weeks or months on end. So they would test it, and they found that most of it was right next to the tap, as I've said a couple times already. But their recommendation then is, if you leave your house for a few days, weeks, months, or whatever, and then you come back, to run the tap for a little while before using that kind of water. And it doesn't seem to matter what type of pipes you have, whether it's PEX piping or the metal pipes or copper pipes or whatever the case may be. I mean, they're all going to have the bacteria growing close to the tap. And if you have well water too, it probably has bacteria already in it. And if you do have well water, you'll want to put bleach in your water softener occasionally. The bleach doesn't get directly into the water. The water softener works where it's got all these, it runs through. See, the actual salt in the water softener doesn't actually go into the water that you're drinking. It just reacts with it, and then it pulls out all the ingredients that make the water hard, through the chemical reaction or whatever the case is. So when you pour bleach in it, it just kills all the bacteria, so that doesn't, make things all gross and messy inside of there. So the reality, having a water filter too would help as well. But the thing is, if you have water filters can definitely get bacteria in them as well. I mean, if you got an RO water softener, then every time you change the filters, which is 3, 6 months, 12 months maybe, depending on how large the family is or how many people are utilizing it. So when you change the water filters, then you can run some moonshine or hydrogen peroxide. You can even put some bleach in it. When you put some bleach in it, you want to make sure you get most of it out before you drink it again. So clean water is the most important thing for humans. Now, ideally, it'd probably be best to drink the rainwater. So if you can find a nice little system set up where you can, get rainwater off your roof and filter all the shingles and the dirt and particles that are on your roof that get into the water. If you can do that, that would be ideal, because the rainwater is super soft. It has the right alkalinity. It probably has all the nutrients you need, and it'll make you great again. But that's not practical to a lot of people, and even me. I haven't really found a good way to filter it or anything like that yet. So yeah, I still do the 7-stage RO system with the UV filter and the 6 stages before that. So yeah, it seems to work okay. I mean, there was a time where I did not change the filters for. When I first got it, I took about 15 months before I decided to change the filter because I figured that what I did not realize is that bacteria can accumulate after, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever the case may be. Because I was thinking, well, if I'm just one person drinking out of it, and occasionally 2 people, then who needs to change the filters every 6 months? Because I thought that it was just a function of usage, not time. But in reality, it's like changing oil on your car. If you only drive the car 500 miles in a year, it's still a good idea to change the oil. Now, I know it's pretty much embedded in any male mechanic's head that you change the oil every 3, 4, 6,000 miles if it's good, high quality synthetic. But the reality is, time is just as much of a determinant as mileage. When you come across a vehicle that's 20 years old, but it only has 100,000 miles, you're still going to have stuff that goes bad on it. That if you had a car that was 5 years old with 300,000 miles, it might be more reliable just because it's not as old. Time is an enemy to all mechanical or inanimate objects. I mean, they don't generally get better with time, unless you're talking about hard cheese. Well, see, hard cheese and wine, those are living enzymes. That's why they get better with time. Cars and I suppose water is living too, but it's working against you in this regard as far as time goes. The filters are inanimate objects, so they're the ones that are actually growing the bacteria on them. So, I mean, when I changed out my filter, it's all black, and it looked like you rolled it through a mound of bacteria, basically, and it was probably mostly dirt sediment, actually, but usually bacteria is on a microscopic level, so you can't really see it. But it looked pretty bad, and when your water does get bad, you can kind of tell. You'll get stomach pains and all that stuff too, and but hopefully you can just filter it every 6 months and get all the filters you need and all that junk, and that you have. The biggest thing too is if you get an RO system, to have it so that you can conveniently access the filters. I mean, if it's a big hassle to change filters and you got to scrounge down underneath the sink and all that, then it's probably not the best placement for it, because you don't really want to make it an all-day endeavor to change out the filters too. And one of the bad things about some of the RO systems is they got these cheap plastic, the things you screw onto the filters. Some of them are just these cheap plastic threading, so you need to get new parts occasionally. And then when you change the filters, some of them won't leak, and then maybe they'll get warped and stripped and all that. So it is kind of a hassle to have an RO filter in that regard, but it's a lot more convenient than buying plastic bottled water. Then you get all the plastic contaminants and everything to it. And that's not to say that there won't be plastic contaminants inside the filter, because the filter housings are all made out of plastic, so the tank is made out of steel or metal, so there's probably some kind of contaminants that get into that too. It's just all about mitigating risk. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. Rainwater is probably not going to be perfect either. Maybe it'll have some acid or mercury or some other goofy random stuff that is potentially very toxic and unhealthy, so just keep that in mind. I suppose the main lesson here is just, if you're going to leave your house for a while and you come back, just run the water for a little bit. That'll get rid of the bacteria, and then then you can start drinking it again and enjoying it. The other thing too is Aalto University found that there's a significant amount of nickel, lead, and copper that can dissolve into the water. And what they found, newer pipes usually have had more toxins. I don't know if they, when they freshly manufacture them, if they leach off or all that good stuff. So, and lead can leach us off from a lot of the brass fittings. Now, see, even PEX piping, you can either get plastic or brass fittings. So some of those brass fittings probably do have a little bit of, some of them are probably lead free, but I guess you got to look at depending on where you live. What else they found is stagnant pipes had a greater quantity of toxins, and same with this last Illinois study. It was basically, if water sits for a while, then it accumulates bad stuff. So say for example, when you relieve the pressure on your water line and then you turn it on again, you'll get like this weird gross black stuff that shoots out, and then it'll get clean again. So I mean, yeah, obviously you don't want to drink the black stuff or even bathe or shower with it or put it on your face or nothing, or throw it on your pet or anything. So it's just, yeah, it's a good idea. I suppose the two lessons here are, if you leave for a while, run the water for a little bit to get the bacteria out, and if you relieve the pressure on your water system, then run it for a while until all the black stuff is eradicated. Yeah, newer pipes had more toxins. Stagnant pipes, greater quantity of toxins. So yeah, I mean, you can get filtered. Like a lot of the older houses still probably have the copper pipes, and you can get the PEX pipes too. Now, that doesn't say that PEX pipes are safer because they don't have metal in them. I mean, there's probably PEX pipes probably offshoot more plastic contaminants than the metal pipes offshoot metal contaminants. Maybe they don't, but it seems like they probably would. So you definitely want to keep that in mind too, especially hot pipes. I mean, hot pipes, the water molecules are moving around at warp speed, so they're going to knock into the walls and offset or offshoot, the plastic contaminants. And same with water pipes. Hotter pipes are probably have more offshooting of metal particles. So that's why you hook up the cold water pipes to your drinking water, and why you don't typically want to drink shower water and things of that nature too. So I think I mentioned this before, but a pair of researchers synthesized a compound from I think it's picnic acid, but yeah, it's basically a sponge, and it just removes all it repels water. Like the type of clothes you buy that's waterproof, and you dump water on it and then it just beads up and then rolls right off. That's basically what it does. And it grabs onto a lot of the bad stuff inside the water that you don't want to drink or put on your skin. So it sounds pretty promising, but things of this nature, they don't. See, things like this are kind of funny because they sound really promising and alluring, but then they just fizzle out over time, or maybe 10, 15 years, they just randomly show up one day. There's this thing called the ShamWow, which is just a little 2 by 2 foot. Well, they call it a chamois. It's feels like just some big sheet of rubber, and we use it in swimming. You put it all over yourself, and it would grab all the water off. Then you'd squeeze it, and all the water would come off instantly, and it was dry. So then you put it back on your skin and get all the water off. So it's a lot handier to use than a towel because you didn't have to walk around with some big, clunky, goofy-looking towel. And yeah, that's one of those things where I don't know if it filters out all this stuff like this picnic acid sponge does, but it's one of those discoveries where it's really cool at the time, but then you got to go through all the research and the safety and get approved for it, and by the FTC and the FDA and all these other organizations too. So I mean, it's hard to get in the FDA's good graces if you're not intricately involved in their business either. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up to a break here. There's plenty of more research articles we're going to get to. But yeah, it's just important to have clean water. I mean, I'm sure you read about Gary, Indiana, and they had a bunch of lead in their water and shit and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely something you want to try to avoid. It's very important to have clean water. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have Good Times Balls Deep in the near future. I've been talking to the host lately. I'll probably meet up with him sometime, maybe next weekend. Obviously not this weekend because it's almost already over with. So I meet up with him, maybe they exchange some equipment or ideas and just get revved up again, excited about the prospect of it. So I mean, we did hit a few obstacles in the road here and there, but that's going to happen, especially when you want to put out a high quality next level show. And he's currently in the process of procuring new sponsorships to fund the show. So I think that's his biggest hurdle right now. And there's other guest hosts on call or on demand available at the drop of a hat. I mean, they're really pumped about it. And, they're just really smart, scholarly, erudite guys. So they should make the show. They should bring the show to the next level and make St. Cloud great again and make Minnesota great again. And, I'm really ambivalent about it, and it should be a good time, and hopefully balls deep as well. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Tex Messages. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. Looks like we'll be back in 3 minutes. Thank you very much for listening. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Tex Messages. This is episode 24. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. Excuse that slight delay. I had to send an extremely important text message to somebody. See, last night was Ring of Honor's Women of Honor Women of Honor singles title tournament conclusion. So, yeah, it was. I don't know. It was pretty weird. It was kind of a weird ending. It just sort of. Yeah, it just ended and someone got the title. It wasn't really climactic in any way, shape, or form. So maybe they went off script or whatever the case may be. And sometimes that's what makes it exciting, when people go off script. Like Goldberg did that a lot. He would cancel out moves and stuff. So if somebody was going to try to give a clothesline, he had the permission just to go off script and basically do whatever he wanted to do. So for a pro wrestler, it's kind of risky for the promoters to allow a guy to do that, but yeah, for some reason it worked with him and his whole shtick there. But that being said, ladies, it's looks like it's going to be about mid-60s. The trails are starting to melt off. The other day, I biked down to there's some trail by the river here in Elk River. There's a bunch of people with animals and whatnot. Pigs, kangaroos, raccoons, dogs, cats. They're all walking their animals around the park, and yeah, there's still a little bit of snow here and there, but nothing too serious. So yeah, I'm sure all the trails are probably melted off. I mean, April 22nd, yeah, you would hope they would be by this point in time. Usually by the beginning of April, most trails are melted off and then ready to be utilized, basically. Now sometimes these trails, though, they groom them in the middle of winter so that people can do like cross-country skiing or snowmobiling or snowshoeing or whatever the case is. And yeah, that's also good and fun, and people involved are typically laughing and smiling. But it is just nice when you can be outside in the great outdoors in springtime when it's not 100 degrees out. But as you can, if you're a TV viewer, you can probably see there's a bit of a red shade on my face here. Yesterday it only heated up to about 60 degrees, so I figured, all right, yeah, just go bike around, spend some time outside, do a little bit of show prep, and next thing you know, I already got sunburn after about 3 or 4 hours. So yeah, just now that doesn't mean you should rub weird creams all over your face and to try to block the sun. It's just, yeah, if you want to block the sun, one of those big goofy cone-looking hats is probably the best thing to do. Yeah, putting stuff on your skin just seems weird, unless it's soap, which just gets the dirt off your skin. So see, putting soap on your skin is acting to take things off your skin. So I mean, if you put things on your skin with the whole intention of having them absorb in and go into your body and do all this stuff, it's like I don't know if it's the smartest thing to do. Even something like like lip balm, for example. I mean, if you look at the ingredient list, it'll say vitamin E, beeswax, this, that, and the other thing. Then it'll say soybean oil in it. You kind of wonder, why do you actually need to put the soybean oil in it? Because soy is just an endocrine disruptor. When it gets in your skin and absorbs all the layers, it probably gets into your blood too and does a bunch of weird stuff. So just be very cautious about the items you put on your skin. Sunscreen, shampoo especially. Even lip balm. And one of the biggest fallacies you can fall for is that if an item is of a greater price, it's of a better quality. That's a very dangerous game to play. Just read the labels, because you would think that the less ingredients you can put into a product, the cheaper it could be. I mean, it's like, yeah, I get soybean oil is probably a really cheap product that's a filler, and you can, you can put quality ingredients in it and then fill up the rest of it with soybean oil and then charge at a higher price because it's of a greater quantity and mass and weight and all that and density. So I get that a lot of these items are probably just fillers, and that's why they're on the ingredient list in the first place. I mean, they don't really do anything, just add volume to the product so they can sell it for more money. And it's good to support local merchants. I mean, if somebody is making lip balm on their farm or something, yeah, maybe you can just buy it from them instead, because your health will be better, you'll make yourself great again, your family great again. And interacting with local people and getting involved with the local economy is kind of a cool, fun thing to do. I mean, yeah, you can support corporations that just seek to tell us that water is not a right and that we should all be zombie parasites and hate ourselves and follow everything that authoritarian schools and news reports tell us. I mean, yeah, if you want to play that game, you certainly can, but I don't even know why. We just have a finite amount of time on Earth here, so why bother to be a zombie parasite the whole time? Just live it to the fullest. Every day is a war, or life is a war, every day is a battle. And it wasn't designed to be easy either. It's just, as long as you're making the right choices, following your principles, making yourself great again, making communities great again, not crapping on other people, then you're probably on the right path, especially if it's your own path. Now, if you deviate from your own path, chances are pretty good you're going to go on somebody else's path. Now, that doesn't mean that you can occasionally join paths with other people, or if you find that one special person, join their path permanently, and together you'll create a yellow brick road path and everything. But it just means if you stay on your own path, hopefully not the left-hand path, then yeah, you won't impede on anybody else's and make their lives more miserable too. Now, yeah, it is important to work together. The sum of the parts the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So there's also that to consider. I mean, if you want to achieve extraordinary things like building an insanely expensive camera or laptop, it definitely helps to work together with other people and to not, crap on them or bamboozle or pull any skullduggery with them too. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, now we were talking about some research articles and all that good fun stuff about clean water. That's the other thing too. I really gotta get around to getting this rainwater and filtering it and start drinking it on a regular basis. And I think probably the best way to do it would be to, set up your rain gutters so that they, drop some rainwater into a barrel. But the barrel has to be, food grade. Not this. If you get some free barrel that used to have car washing products in it, then you got to clean it over and over again, and you still don't know if it's completely eradicated or if the plastic compounds are any different too. So that's why it's important to just try to find, a food grade barrel or just something along those lines. Maybe plastic is usually the most durable container, especially in a large setting like that. If you can find some old giant stainless steel cow milk container that's a fair price, go ahead. But yeah, a brand new stainless steel refrigerated cow milk container holder is probably quite a bit of money. I don't have the figure off the top of my head, but it's probably thousands of dollars, which if you can just find some food grade plastic container that's, health is very important and all that stuff too, but a food grade plastic container, if you're filtering out all the junk or the debris and sediment in it and whatever plastic contaminants get involved in it too, then I think you'll probably be good. You'll have a net gain out of the deal there for a very reasonable price as well. Now, one thing that you might notice with rainwater is kind of has a yellow tint to it. I don't really know where that comes from or where it's going, but so for the most part though, it's super soft water. It feels, when you touch it, it feels nice and good and clean and everything. So it just came out of the most efficient filter of our existence. So the heaven and earth and the clouds above. So yeah, it's just great water to have. And if you can find a way to filter it and drink it. So back in the good old days, they had these things called cisterns, which all the water would go into the cistern, and then that water would be used around the house. So rather than drilling a really deep hole into the ground and getting water for a well, you get the rainwater. So it's kind of one of those deals where progress is almost going backwards in time, or thinking, all right, what these guys did. Now that we've learned the new information about water safety and all that, what these guys did back then, and gals, was probably a pretty smart thing to do. You got to maybe dig a hole next to your house and have this big tanker in the basement. But if you're getting way healthier drinking water out of the deal, and even if you're getting enough water to use to shower yourself and bathe in, it's probably a good idea to go back to that. Now, does that mean we should go back to outhouses? No, outhouses are probably not. But it would be kind of a good idea to have compostable toilets. Then we wouldn't need to hook up with the sewer or a big septic mound, because a septic mound takes up about half of the front yard at this place here, so it's kind of a hassle because you got the first tank, second tank, and then the actual mound. So literally half of the front yard has some type of septic stuff going on underneath it. So if you could just have compostable toilets, put in whatever wood chips or bacteria you need to compost it down and not smelling anything. And then you could just use that inside your compost pile and eventually mix it in with your garden and stuff too. Oh yeah, it kind of sounds gross at first, but when you think about it, most farmers use cow manure and horse manure and pig manure to fertilize their fields, especially organic farmers. So, it sounds weird at first, but if it works and if it's done correctly, if people understand the chemistry behind it, then it should make Elk River great again, or make Minnesota great again. And the only problem is compostable toilet. If you go to Flea Farm, you'll see this plastic contraption of a toilet. Thing just looks like a piece of junk. It looks like it cost you $10 just to mold some piece of plastic around a sand casting and then say it's a toilet. Well, the thing still costs like $1,200. So it's they're a little crazily priced right now, and hopefully they'll become more accepted, because they have them in sometimes abandoned cabins where they don't have running water. Then they'll have compostable toilets or RVs, things of that nature. So it would be kind of cool to just implement them inside of houses too. And it could be just as easy, even if you live in some coffin apartment, you could still they could still set up something to compost it and then, expend it somewhere or whatever the case may be. Or maybe they'd have some giant holding tank outside and then some farmer could come pick it up and use it as compost, whatever the case is. See, I think one of the problems is, though, the human's diet is way less healthy than cows and horses and pigs. So that's probably why they say, human fecal matter is so dangerous and you can't, it is, you don't want to get in contact with it, obviously, in its independent, isolated form. But, if you put it together with the right bacteria and it breaks it down and makes it into something great again, then you should theoretically be able to use it for composting. Just like horse and cow manure. So that being said, it just seems like a waste just to put all the sewer off into some random sewage plant and then forget about it, or leave it in its isolated state so that it continues to fester and create diseases and all that good fun stuff as well. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're well, it looks like we're hitting another break here pretty quick here. Maybe I can knock off one of these research articles quick. Alright, let's do this one. The University of California, they said too much sitting causes the brain structure, thinning of the brain structure. How they utilize this test is $35 between 45 and 75 questions for physical activity and the time they spend sitting around. Then they scan the brain using an MRI, observe the medial temporal lobe of the brain, which is linked to memories. Now, memory is kind of a controversial topic because people don't know if the brain is actually storing memory or if memory is coming from an external source and the brain is just receiving it, like an antenna. It's like all of our thoughts coming from an external source, and our brain and our mind is just an antenna. So, see, those are the tough questions. People can't really answer those yet, but just a little something to think about. So what they found here at the University of California is that more hours of sitting around were associated with less thickness in the medial temporal lobe. So that what they found is that when people have cognitive decline or Alzheimer's disease or dementia, that's one of the that's a consistency that they have, thinness of the medial temporal lobe, which is associated with memories and everything like that. So yeah, maybe you could either say the storage and retrieval is bad or faulty, or the antenna is bad or faulty, depending on what train of thought you follow. Now, if you're more of a spiritual person, you're going to be more of the pineal gland as the third eye, and it receives transmission from an external source, which is probably some type of almighty or group collective that brings everybody together. But if you're, a physics-only type of person that only strictly adheres to man-made science, then you're probably going to think like, there's all your memories are stored in your brain because you experience it, then it stores it away in it. The five senses or whatever, and then you can bring it back on demand or whatever the case is. And both explanations make sense. They're both plausible, and so it's all personal preference. Maybe both of them are true to some extent too. They probably are. It's just we don't have very good understanding of things because we just run an experiment and then find consistencies. If you roll a tire and over again the tire rolls, then you know that if you're going to roll this tire, the tire's going to roll because that's what happened in the past many times. So usually, like if somebody tells you a lie over and over again, you eventually think it's true because you've been told it over and over again, so it's just consistency. That's an easy way for humans to recognize factual patterns, through consistency. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, sitting around isn't very good for you. Even if you exercise, it's just important not to sit around a lot. Now, if you got like a desk job or something, your productivity kind of takes a nosedive too. Because what I've found is that, if I'm going to sit around or sit down somewhere, you got about 45 minutes to an hour of good quality time where you can actually absorb and work diligently and concentrate on something. And then after that, you generally need to walk around for probably 15-20 minutes or so. And then it seems to slowly level off over the course of the day. Like 45 minutes might turn into half an hour, then you gotta change up your activities or go to meetings or go drive around somewhere or walk around or run around or whatever the case is. So find what works for you. Sitting for very long periods of time is never good. Pretty much anybody knows that. You can have a standing desk, but it feels kind of weird to just stand in front of your desk because I don't know, It seems like you just do one or the other. If you want to have a standing desk, then just get a job that requires physical effort. You know, if you want a sitting desk, then yeah, then you're gonna have to walk around eventually. But yeah, it's just finding balance. It's very difficult. It's hard to do. It's a challenge. But you know, life wasn't meant to be easy. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have good times, balls deep in the near future. The host of the show, he's procuring sponsorships to get better funding. See, that's always the elephant of the room for any quality programming, just where the funding is coming from. But it's also important, especially when you're reading about studies, where the funding is coming from. Or universities, for example, who's funding them? Why are they funding them? That'll almost answer more questions than the actual research itself. So, I mean, Good Times, Tex Messages is funded by basically my pocket. So, yeah, are we slanted towards my views and my biases? Absolutely. Because it's entirely funded by Rick Tex. Nobody else funds Tex Messages. I mean, obviously it doesn't require a lot of funding, so nobody else needs to fund it. Good Times Balls Deep, it'll pretty much be funded by the host of Good Times Balls Deep and maybe a couple other people. So there is always that to consider. I mean, we don't have weird corporate Nestle isn't sponsoring the show, or Ring of Honor Wrestling, or the Princeton Speedway. None of them are sponsoring the show. Or Burt's Bees, lip balm, beeswax, lipstick, or whatever the case is. So yeah, it's just all personal funding. Just to have good times, balls deep, just so that everyone can provide some laughing and smiling and bringing back good old American fun and making St. Cloud great again and Elk River great again. So Good Times, balls deep. Yeah, it should. Yeah, I know I've been harping on it for a couple months now, but I mean bringing a show of that magnitude, it's not an easy endeavor. It's not something that you can just show up one day and start filming and put it on YouTube. It requires a lot of time, diligence, concentration, focus, ambition, and dedication. And in this case, it requires a lot of funding, which the host of Good Times Balls Deep is attempting to procure right now. And I might procure some more funding sometime in the near future as well. Then we can maybe expand horizons a little bit, film some different stuff, and maybe get an even more insanely expensive camera. And yeah, we might do some live streaming, all that goofy stuff, and set up some interactive people text messaging or whatever, instant messaging on this laptop here. And this laptop is pretty old. It's I got it about 10 years ago because I was going to make some fuel injection system for my car that I could actually control with this laptop. So I went ahead and I did that. Yeah, it was a good time. The laptop definitely served its purpose. And it absolutely serves its purpose here, too, on our show. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Text Messages. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Welcome back to Tex Messages, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're glad to have you here once again. Now, last episode, 23, we went about 10 minutes over, so we'll try to stick it at 1 hour again. Yeah, I realize, slap in the face to all you, the ladies and gentlemen at home, etc., etc. So try to avoid doing that for the most part. But, can't always guarantee it. I got a clock here and everything, but sometimes the clock doesn't always work, or I miss track of the time. Because, we're always starting at different times. We might start at 10:10, for example. So then, over the course of the show, we might forget about that and think like, oh, it seems like it's been an hour, but, we're not entirely sure. So I'll just stop for 5 to 10 more minutes just to make sure. And, yeah, that's usually why it goes over. I mean, it's not because we're trying to disrespect you, the ladies and gentlemen at home, or anything. It's just, it's just what happens when you film an hour of a talk show here. So with that being said, let's see here. We got plenty of studies to get to, that's for sure. So, I think we should get to this one. I mean, it does sort of have something to do with outdoor gardening. Because it's about Monsanto. Everybody knows about them. They basically have... What they do is they have people that work for them, then those people work for the FDA or for the USDA, and then it sounds extremely shady and just a big major conflict of interest, which for the most part, yeah, it probably is. You'd think there'd be some type of laws or regulations out there that would say if you've ever worked for Monsanto in any type of capacity, you shouldn't be qualified to work in federal government. But weirdly, there isn't any laws like that out there. I mean, if somebody, unfortunately, there probably isn't a big lobbying force against that, so that's why there's not any laws about it. I mean, I'm certainly not going to go spend hundreds of dollars to tell Al Lincoln to make a law against that, because, I probably should care and dedicate a good amount of time into trying to figure out what exactly is going on with this company that always seems to be up to no good, but hey, you just try to stay in your lane, stay on your path, live your life, and make St. Cloud great again and Elk River great again. So, alright, this is greenmatinfo.com. Alright, so in 1988 there's a seed policy imposed by the World Bank which required India to deregulate their seed sector. So, that would allow, that created companies that would get locked into joint ventures and licensing arrangements with Monsanto, obviously. So, seeds went from a common resource that everybody can use. They're all part of the earth. Then they became Monsanto intellectual property. So if Monsanto would take a seed and inject some weird genetic engineering into it that probably not tested for safety at all and just generally regarded as safe so that they didn't have to go through the stringent testing requirements, that they could just say it's theirs and then collect royalties off of it. And not only that, they had these things called Franken seeds, so they were not able to reproduce. So you literally had to buy them every single year so that Monsanto could get all their royalties from it. And then if the seeds or the pollen or whatever blew off from one farmer, moved into the other farmers, and they found evidence of it, then they could sue that farmer. So just a bunch of weird stuff that goes on that, I mean, on an individual basis, you wouldn't think that people would do that. But once you get people into a corporation thinking all weird and funny, then yeah, they tend to do that stuff. So, yeah, the renewable resource became non-renewable, patented resource, the Franken seeds and everything. See, when crops get genetically engineered like that and then they don't reproduce, they're basically shutting themselves down. So at that point, the genetic engineers, which you don't really have a lot of information about, and a lot of information that we do have is contradictory. If you read about 5 books on genetic engineering, you would be even more confused about the topic than if you did absolutely no studying on it whatsoever. It's just a big convoluted mess, is more or less what I've observed from it. Oh yeah, usually I just figured the person that's speaking most negatively about it is probably the most accurate. I think that's probably just the best way to go, in all honesty. That's the common sense approach. I mean, people that say it's all well and great and good and everything, maybe it is, but they just haven't established any credibility based on what the USDA and FDA and all the chicanery they pull with people in and out of Monsanto and all these other weird big companies that sell seeds and farmer stuff. So, we also, cotton was originally mixed with food crops, and now it's monoculture, so you can't. So what that means is, you'd grow cotton one year, then it would put stuff in the soil, and then do other things with the soil. Then you could grow a different plant the next year that used that stuff in the soil. It was like crop rotation basically. But now, the cotton was just completely independent and doesn't do what it originally did, and based on the bioengineering. And so, it subverted India's regulatory process and used public resources to push non-renewable hybrid GMOs. And, a lot of the cotton, the past diseases and droughts caused a lot of the crop failure. See, what genetic engineering is intended to do, maybe not fully, but they make it so that you can spray this weird stuff like glyphosate on it, and then it won't kill the plant, but it'll kill all the other weeds and probably kill the humans that eat it too. So unless we genetically engineer ourselves to counter the glyphosate, there's no reason to believe it would be safe for us to consume this weird stuff that's intended to kill life, liberty, and possibly the pursuit of happiness. So, it's just weird, dangerous stuff that I don't know if it's intended to. It's hard to tell what exactly their goal is in creating all these frankenfoods. And I get that if you create a non-renewable seed and people are forced to buy it every single year, you create a market for it. If there's a seed that the farmers can reuse every single year, there's no market for it. So, from a corporate standpoint, you're legally obligated to make a profit. If you don't, you're sued by your shareholders. You think well, that seems pretty stupid and dumb and evil and disregards human life, and it absolutely does. And that's what corporations are designed to do, to disregard human life, more or less, in most situations, not all situations. And that doesn't mean that everybody that works for one is a bad person. But most people inherently aren't bad, they just have to allow bad to work within them, and then they can become it. If that means you have to engage in mind control like Ted Kaczynski and get involved in MK Ultra and all that other weird stuff, and like Timothy McVeigh, then these people consciously know that they're getting involved in some really bad things. That could, even when you consume alcohol, a lot of people, their families have been torn apart just by something like alcohol. It seems like a relatively innocuous substance. You drink it, get a little inebriated, and have some fun, but some people it turns them into a complete weirdo, nitwit. So it's good to avoid drugs, and I don't know if you could consider working for a corporation as a drug, but it kind of is, because you're only working there to get money, and if they're not doing anything productive or positive, then, it's basically a drug then. You're just getting money and nothing else. You're not being productive or a worthwhile member to society, and in fact, in many cases, probably causing the destruction of society, whether you're aware of it or not. Now, negligence ignorance shouldn't always be a good defense, but for a lot of people, I get it. You're just trying to raise a family. You just need money to buy your own starter plants and grow your plants. And hey, if that means you work for a company that wrecks other plants and just wrecks the ecosystem and wrecks everybody else's health, then if you're not aware of it, can you really fault them? But it is a good idea just to be up to speed on what your company's doing, what they're up to, and everything. And at the very least, just trying to hold their feet to the fire. Even if you're some weirdo working on the assembly line at Monsanto, just say, hey, why are we selling frankenseeds? Doesn't that seem really silly and stupid and dangerous and harmful? And they'll say, oh no, the science proves it's not. And then you look at the science and think, oh, the entire studies were funded by Monsanto and other weird corporations that do all of this other skullduggery and tomfoolery. So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, you learn more about a research. If I look at a research study, I look at who funds it first, and then what the actual content of it is, because who funds it is a better indicator. Who funds it is the only factual information in a research article. What the results are, there can be a lot of, cherry picking. There can be a lot of weird adjusting, modification. They can conveniently neglect certain facts. Just pick and choose what they want to report and focus on. But if you look at who funds it, that's an absolute fact. So if you want to deal in facts, common sense, just look at who funds it. You might not even have to know what the research article is about or what it definitively claims to prove. You can just say, oh yeah, Monsanto's funding it. That's usually a red flag. And let's see here. So BT is a some weird pesticide. It started in 1997 and 98 illegally, but it's always a bit cringeworthy to say something is illegal because everybody making the laws are generally the ones that are up to no good. I mean, I could make up a law to make it legal for me to start blowing up people's houses. So if I start blowing up their houses, I'm saying, oh, it's legal. You know, I said it was legal. Doesn't make it right. So morals is, legalities aren't, you know, the Big Ten. Those are the important ones. But other than the Big Ten, as far as legality goes, try not to put too much stock into that. It's just, if it's moral or if it's not. If it adheres to pro-human, pro-common sense, pro-life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then yeah, it's probably a thing that'll make America great again. But legal and illegal, you know, it's all man-made laws that who's making them? Usually some weird corporate lobbyists or people with a lot of money that want to spend it and just do things that are sometimes very harmful. Alright, so 2012, there's a 10-year moratorium on field trials of all GM and terminated transgenic crops. And what they also have in India is farmer suicide correlates with BT cotton. So the highest rate of farmer suicide is usually associated with the BT cotton that they've been doing a lot of the genetic engineering or studies or research on, whatever the case may be. And it is weird that farmers would commit suicide, because if you're outside working all day in the sun or working with the fields and working with the earth, generally everything else in life just comes into comes together. Everything is just great again. But yeah, I mean, if you're working with dangerous chemicals that cause cancer and all these other weird diseases, then yeah, I can see why people would want to, you know, why farmer suicides would be at a higher rate of and everything like that. And you know, even around here, there's people that work with, you know, glyphosates or neonicotinoids and whatever other weird pesticides and herbicides and fertilizers that they're spraying into the soils. And even a lot of farmers are, you know, maybe not dying young, but you know, they're getting cancer at 50 or 60 years old or whatever the case may be. And back in the good old days, you know, a farmer it was not uncommon to hear a farmer that would work till he was 95 and he would die because he fell into a tractor or whatever at 95 years old. You know, he's still working all day. You know, why not? You got 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, a torso, may as well use it. So, yeah, I mean, the disease rate of farming in general is a bit alarming. And I mean, nobody, like I said, you know, you can read all you want about genetic engineering, you're just going to probably get a bunch of weird contradictory information or just cherry picking this and that and the other thing. It's more important to know the source rather than the information. You know, it's really sad to say, and it sounds really short-sighted to say that, but unfortunately in our society, it's kind of how it operates, basically. I mean, I can tell you stuff and that say like, oh, based on my empirical research, this is what happens. You know, like eating healthy food, I can say, oh, I eat a high-fat, high-protein, low-carb diet, and it's healthy, it's safe. But that's because I'm saying it, and I have a unique situation. Well, maybe not entirely unique. You know, we're all humans. We all got the same organs, most of the same organs and everything. But when it's coming from me as a source, it may not apply to you, or I may just be outright lying too. If say, for example, I want to make a bunch of money selling certain diet books or anything, then I'm just gonna say that this is absolute truth and fact, and hope it works for people, and try to convince them that it does. And hopefully I could make a lot of money from it too. So there's also that to consider, ladies and gentlemen. Text messages, obviously, I mean, that's obviously never used to gain income or anything. It's mostly used to gain entertainment, and hopefully people can laugh and smile and become educated about it too. I mean, yeah, there's no way we could do a 1-hour comedy show. I mean, number one, I'm not really funny. I'm not really that entertaining either. So hopefully it's just trying to combine education, entertainment, and maybe some stuff is funny, but who really knows? So just trying to do the best we can, putting content out there, and hopefully people will like it and it'll make them great again. And yeah, we just try to provide valuable information that people can apply to their daily lives. And yeah, I mean, if you watch all 24 episodes of Tex Messages and you figure out that having backyard chickens is cool and growing plants inside is cool too, then hey, hopefully your life will be better as a result of it. You know, that's really the most important thing. Your life is better, my life is better. You know, you don't want to live in a world with a bunch of sick people. Is basically the reality of it. And the hardest thing is to accept that that a society as a whole is being systematically dumbed down and sickened, it's difficult to do because you always base your health relative to the next person, or you base your wealth relative to the next person. But you had to start thinking that you can achieve a lot more and that your potential is a lot greater than what you've been led to believe it is. I mean, just because if everybody starts getting cancer at 50, 60 years old, it doesn't make it normal. It means there's a major problem out there. You know, you might think like, well, you know, if everyone else is getting cancer at 50 years old and I get cancer at 50 years old, you know, that's fine because that's what's supposed to happen. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty extreme example there, but it's just, you know, I'm just trying to illustrate here and narrate that you have to, you can't judge things relative on somebody else to determine your own well-being or safety and all that. Like weight, for example. I mean, you can't say, oh, I weigh 100 pounds and so weighs 200 pounds. I mean, their body type could be entirely different than yours, so it doesn't mean that they're unhealthy or you're unhealthy. It just means that maybe you're unhealthy and maybe they're super healthy, or maybe it's the other way around. There's a lot of factors to consider, and to compare yourself relative to other people, especially society as a whole, is a very dangerous thing to do. You just try to make yourself better and do what, you know. When I say do what feels best or what feels good, it doesn't mean seek out carnal pleasures and, you know, do cocaine that makes you feel instantly good. It just means from a long-term perspective, just do what feels right and just and principally, and that aligns with your principles, and then everything else will fall into play. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the conclusion of the show. You're listening to Tex Messages with Rick Tex, the Parasite. We'll have good times, balls deep in the very near future. The host is procuring sponsors right now, and yeah, he's a pretty busy guy too. You know, a lot busier than me. So yeah, we'll be having that show airing in the near future. And thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you got some type of education out of this show, and hopefully we can provide much education in the near future, and maybe even some entertainment. Maybe I will try like an hour-long comedy show someday and try to write up a bunch of jokes. But, you know, I'm sure it'd be a complete flop, just like Flop Day the 13th. But, I mean, you know, you gotta try new things out here and there. Yeah, some might like it, some might hate it, some might completely disown you and disavow you for it. But, you know, that's life. It's all trial and error. Just being true to yourself, true to your character, true to your country, and just trying to make St. Cloud great again. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen.